patas en el aire, patas en el aire, saltando en el bosque, con tus patas en el aire. Yeah, I live in the woods with the black bears. We share the same water, we share the same air with the deer and the rabbit, the fox and the birds. It's a beautiful life, it's a beautiful world. Patas en el aire, patas en el aire, saltando en el bosque, con tus patas en el aire. Put your paws in the air, put your paws on the ground, jump up, touch the sky. Now turn around, put your paws in the air, your paws on the ground. Shout out loud, make a joyful sound. Patas en el aire, patas en el aire, saltando en el bosque, con tus patas en el aire. Vivo en el bosque con los osos negros. Ellos son mis amigos, ellos son mis maestros. Me enseñan a vivir en armonía con la luna, en armonía con el sol y con la naturaleza. Patas en el aire, patas en el suelo, con todos tus amigos y las manos hacia el cielo. Patas en la luna, patas en el día, patas de amor, patas de alegría. Patas en el aire, patas en el aire, saltando en el bosque, con tus patas en el aire. Patas en el aire, patas en el aire, saltando en el bosque, con tus patas en el aire. Yeah, I live in the woods with the black bears. We share the same water, we share the same air with the deer and the rabbit, the fox and the birds. It's a beautiful life, it's a beautiful world.
Thanks so much for that great kickoff, Mr. G, and welcome back, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. As I mentioned earlier, I'm here representing Moms Clean Air Force, a nationwide movement of more than 1 million moms and dads united to fight air pollution and climate change. Today, I am joined by Senator Tom Udall from New Mexico and our New Mexico field organizer, Celerah Hewes. Celerah grew up in Corrales, New Mexico. After moving to San Francisco to get her MA in U.S. history, she returned home to Albuquerque to start her family. Since returning, she has been working with local businesses and families who believe that taking care of people and protecting air, land, and water are as important as profits. She has a 7-year-old daughter who loves exploring nature, and she hopes to help preserve that for other families. And now I have the extreme pleasure of introducing our special guest today, Senator Tom Udall, who is joining us virtually from his office in Santa Fe. Tom began serving as a U.S. Senator in 2009 after 2 decades of public service as U.S. Representative and New Mexico State Attorney General. He was reelected to the Senate in 2014 and is now the senior senator for New Mexico. During his tenure as a U.S. Senator, he has been a strong advocate for hardworking families in New Mexico, for a clean energy economy and the environment, for affordable and accessible health care, and for our nation's veterans. Senator Udall has also been a leader in the fight for campaign finance reform and for making government more accountable to the American people. And now I will let Celerah and Senator Udall take it away from here.
Thank you so much, Molly. For nearly a decade, moms have been organizing to demand meaningful action to stop climate pollution because it's threatening our safety and well-being, but more importantly for moms, it's threatening the safety and well-being of our children or grandchildren. Now, before we put you on the spot to answer some questions and talk about climate action, I wanted to give you the opportunity to speak about your priorities, your thoughts on addressing the climate crisis, and how your work benefits New Mexicans and Americans around the country.
Thank you, Molly and Celerah, so much. And thank you to Mom's Clean Air Force. It's great to be here with you today. The issues that your organization champions are critically important to our children, to their future, and the future of the planet. Climate change is here. We see it every day in the wildfires raging across the West, in droughts, flooding, hurricanes, and other unprecedented extreme weather events. Just a couple of weeks ago, people in New Mexico had to cope with the smoke from the Medio fire in Santa Fe County. And I'm grateful to Mom's Clean Air Force for stepping up and responding to this urgent call to action. Climate change is about our children and about moms leading the charge. The general election is less than a month away. It's important that your voices be heard. This election will decide our future. We must tackle climate change with everything we have and transition away from fossil fuels to get to net zero carbon pollution. In Congress, I have pushed legislation and reforms to address the dual climate and nature crises, including my resolution to protect 30% of our lands and waters by 2030. And I've also introduced legislation to set a national renewable electricity standard to achieve 50% renewable electricity by 2035 and zero carbon electricity by 2050. As we tackle the climate and nature crises, environmental justice must be our North Star, and we must listen to diverse voices as we form solutions and move forward. Marginalized communities have long endured the disproportionate and worst effects of toxic pollution and environmental destruction. As we transition away from fossil fuels, we need to make sure that no one is left behind. Transitioning to a clean energy economy is for everyone, and no one can be left out. I have been passionate about protecting our environment my entire life, and plastic has become one of the most destructive environmental pollutants. My father, who was Secretary of Interior under Presidents Kennedy and Johnson, wrote about materials like plastic in his book 1976, Agenda for Tomorrow. He recognized that plastic and other materials are largely impervious to nature's way of dissolution and recomposition. That's clearly true for plastic, which has a life cycle of 1,000 years. You can't get rid of this stuff. Earlier this year, I introduced the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act. This bill would phase out unnecessary single-use plastic products, hold corporations accountable for wasteful products, reduce wasteful packaging, and reform the broken waste and recycling collection system. I understand that this issue is particularly important to some of our younger members who are concerned about this growing problem. I have also pushed hard in Congress to provide more federal support for prevention and mitigation of the kind of massive wildfires that we are seeing across the American West. There are other major fires burning right now, like the ones in California and Colorado, that have caused a huge amount of damage, have cost lives, and are making it hard for people to breathe, especially for people with chronic health conditions, the elderly, and our children. These natural disasters hit communities of color and are most vulnerable, especially children, the hardest. That's why I'm proud to partner with Mom's Clean Air Force, because you are at the forefront of fighting for these communities and to bring more attention to address these important issues. I am very interested in hearing your views and concerns and understand that you might have some questions for me. So thank you, and back to Celerah.
Thank you so much, Senator. You have an amazing record on these issues, and we're very glad to hear from you today. Your work was instrumental in passing the bipartisan bill that protects families from toxic chemicals. This was one of the most important pieces of environmental legislation in a long time. However, we know that legislation is only as good as it is implemented, and the current administration has continued to attack this landmark law. The Trump administration is allowing new chemicals onto the market with little or no health information and only cursory safety reviews, ignoring real-world exposures when evaluating chemicals already in use today, blocking needed restrictions on dangerous uses of toxic chemicals, and denying the public access to health information on these chemicals. The consequences of these actions will be felt by our children for subsequent generations. What can moms and children do to ensure the EPA properly enacts this law and our families are being protected?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And let me first say that Mom's Clean Air Force was instrumental on TSCA. So all of the things you did in TSCA apply to the other issues that we're working on, from climate change to droughts to the nature crisis. So just remember all those same tactics, because they worked, and they worked very well. And you're going to be, I think Mom's Clean Air Force is going to be critical in the ongoing fight to protect our families under the new law. 4 years ago, we came together to enact strong bipartisan legislation, the first major environmental bill in a generation. The new law gave EPA tools to take dangerous chemicals off the market. Chemicals like paint strippers that have proven deadly. One such chemical killed a young man. He was Wendy Hartley's son. His name was Kevin, and he was just 21 years old. He died from exposure to a chemical the Obama administration was trying to ban with the new law. But, you know, the Trump administration sees things differently. They do everything they can to keep chemicals on the market because companies make money selling these products. We need to implement the new law and try to not break it like the old one. And so it's really important that you, as we put that law in place, we use those same techniques to go out there and make sure that the TSCA law, that's one of the strongest laws in the world in terms of protecting us, that it will be something that our children will make a better world for our children. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator. Now we have some questions from some of your younger constituents, starting with one from southern New Mexico.
My name is Giovanna. I'm 5. We live in Las Cruces. What's your favorite thing about being a senator?
Johanna, thank you so much for that wonderful question. And my favorite part of the job is working with other people who are committed to making their community and our nation and the world a better place. People who respect others, no matter the color of their skin, ethnicity, religion, background. People who respect the earth and want to protect our very, very special planet. And people who believe in the power of the people and our democratic values. And I get energy from working with others, concerned citizens like you, especially young people, and I learn a lot from them. So I just want to say to all of you, being involved and caring and putting energy in this really makes a difference. It makes a difference on elected officials. And so don't just think, I'm just one person, I can't do anything. In fact, just a small group of committed people, that's what usually makes a difference. At least that's what my person I admire a lot, Margaret Mead, said. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Senator. Now we have a question from a constituent in Sandoval County.
Hello, my name is Ben. I am 9 years old. I live in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. Wildfires are making our air unsafe to breathe. And I know wildfires are getting worse because of climate change. What are you doing in the Senate to stop the climate change? Thank you.
That's a great question, and it sounds like you have a wonderful family life there and a lot going on, and we always should be nice to our brothers and sisters, and I'm sure you are. So let me tell you, I fight every day to bring climate change to the forefront of the issues in the Congress. I've written legislation like making 50% of our electricity from renewable electricity by the year 2035. I've worked hard to protect efforts to reduce global warming pollution from methane, which is a big problem in New Mexico. And I've pushed a plan to conserve 30% of our natural places by 2030 because we have a nature crisis and we can't defeat climate change if we keep losing our wild places. We used to think we would need to wait to see the impacts of climate change, but we're seeing them now all over the place. We see them in our daily lives. We see extreme weather events, whether it's a very, very bad drought or it's a just huge thunderstorm. So we all need to be concerned and rally. And we're so lucky to have to work with and to have Mom's Clean Air Force. Thank you for that question.
Thank you. Next, we have a question from Gabriel, whose mother was the woman who started the Change.org petition that led to the plastic bag ban here in Albuquerque.
Hello, I'm Gabriel McKenna. I am 8 and I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I know what to do to reduce my plastic use. What laws could be passed in the Senate to reduce plastic waste? Thank you.
Yeah, Gabriel, thank you so much. And I'm glad you asked that very, very good question. Earlier this year, I introduced the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act, the first bill in Congress to tackle this massive plastic pollution problem. I was really inspired by a number of young people in New Mexico who urged the Albuquerque City Council, that's our biggest city in New Mexico, to eliminate single-use plastic bags that have been so polluting. In the time since you were born, plastic pollution has almost doubled, and it doubles every 11 years. The plastic never goes away. There is so much plastic waste right now. Tiny bits of plastic are showing up in our air, in our food, in our water, and scientists believe we may be eating a credit card's worth of plastic each week. So imagine a credit card. Take that and hold on to it. We're eating that amount of plastic or it's coming into our bodies. We really need your support and all of your moms to push this forward as a forward-looking piece of legislation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That's a stunning statistic so to think about. The last question is from my own daughter.
Hi, my name is Evie. I live in Albuquerque, Mexico, and I'm 7. My question is, what is your greatest accomplishment in Senate?
Ellie, thank you so much for that question. I really appreciate that. And that's a hard one, but I'm going to just pick one here because you asked for one, because I've worked for 22 years in the Congress and then 8 years before that as state attorney general. But let me pick one that's really important. I would say chemical safety reform that I discussed earlier is one of my proudest accomplishments. We worked for several years and against all odds to pass a strong new law to protect children and the public from dangerous chemicals. We've had so many victories in protecting our public lands and outdoor spaces. The Great American Outdoors Act, that's another one too. And I certainly can't take all the credit for this, but I'm incredibly inspired by the young people who have been out there pushing on climate, and the environmental activists who have been out there working hard in this country. It is with your energy and their energy that this country will sustain a future that is going to make it better for everyone. And we should always remember that our future should be equitable and be shared with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I will have one more question from me, and it's about something that Moms Clean Air Force works on in states all across the country. And I'll start by thanking you for your support of the EPA and the Bureau of Land Management's methane rules. As we know here in New Mexico, methane leaks cause severe health issues for families living near oil and gas operations in our state, especially small children. While New Mexico is moving forward with state-level protections on methane pollution, we know that the most effective way to regulate nationwide is through strong federal protections. How does curbing methane with strong federal protections help us attack the climate crisis?
Yeah, that's crucial, the way you're focusing in there on what we could do on methane. As all of us know, methane is a very strong global warming pollutant. They say it can trap heat 20 times stronger than other greenhouse gases. So it's one of the most potent greenhouse gases. In New Mexico, we have a methane cloud over our oil and gas region that is the size of the state of Delaware. It's a huge cloud of methane, and it has very bad public health consequences. This is very concerning, and it's not easy to stop. That's one of the things we need to focus on. Companies will release this methane when they drill for oil, or they have leaks in their equipment that release it. There are simple technologies available to stop these releases and to capture this methane. So national protections would really go a long way. That's what you were asking about, because, you know, sometimes you'll get methane that travels across state lines. So if we had one good national standard and worked in that way, we could really make a difference. So these companies can keep working on what they're working. They can clean up the methane and prepare us for a better future for future generations. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Udall. We're so appreciative of your comments on methane pollution and the federal standards, because we work all across the country encouraging states to strengthen their policies, but none of that works together across all of our states in the U.S. if we're not showing strong federal leadership. And we just appreciate your outspokenness and your work on methane pollution, which is the immediate health impacts of the pollutants that come out with the methane, and the longer term impacts of it being a climate pollutant. So I really am so glad that we are going to be able to wrap up on that note about methane, Senator. Thank you. Well, we are going to give you back some of your time today, Senator, and I just want to thank you and Celerah for joining us. We're so happy that you're back in New Mexico, where I know you're very happy to be. And everyone who's tuning in today, please stay tuned for more of these Stay In and Speak Out conversations with other members of Congress throughout the year. Thank you again, Senator. Thank you, Celerah. Bye, everybody.